even though, yes, those materials are there, number one, the system is difficult to search. There were items that I was specifically looking for that if you don't, Simon says the correct thing, you're not gonna find it. But to your point, earlier, yes, the items that are on to be voted on, for which we hadn't been in the informational workshop on.
What I would say, because the superintendent's role in that, what happened and everything, you got to be careful that she doesn't want to be kind of saying what happened or why this or why this person said this, but that we do have the videos. And
that's fine. I just think for knowing topics and then these were the dates. So then because when you're searching, and that's what I did,
and make sure, I think you should be, and because everything gets into board docs, that it would be, again, this is kind of just more of the framework of this. We have a heading, for however we want to label it, for upcoming new board member items that will be voted on or something like that, that you were given the resources that the previous board members had. So all the attachments, the link to the meeting, so you can watch that ahead of time. I think that would be helpful in a transition. So something along those lines, whichever heading we want to put that in, or create a new heading for it.
So if we may, could we wordsmith that, bring that back,
Yeah.
so you'll see what that language looks like?
And that, I feel everyone did a great job. I think that just would be nice to have just in the future for the future school board members and, but the shade meeting I think is, and if that's, that would be really helpful for members.
So just to be brought up to speed with the current legal
Yeah.
status of the district and any open legal matters.
So going back to the options that we have for this, we said superintendent or your designee, and/or,
We said,
like on the first page.
On
of
the
that.
first page.
So down at the bottom, new board orientation programs, the superintendent, and then we have another option, would it be superintendent and/or designee?
I will definitely say,
Yes.
and/or designee.
You won't need designee by capital, it
By
takes care
capital,
of that.
yes,
Okay.
yes. Sorry, forgot about that.
That's okay,
Capital designee is already included.
Okay.
implied by definition.
Yes.
Oh, perfect.
Yes.
Okay.
Fair
Thank
enough.
you.
Yeah, because that was like,
Correction.
I'm
All right,
not
good
heard
enough.
of it.
First hour of the
Good
meeting.
call.
All right, yeah,
Go
move
back.
it. Yeah,
Yes,
gotcha.
okay.
Fair enough, good.
Thank you
It
for
seems
that.
4 days ago, so
Yes.
it's hard to.
So we're gonna hold that for,
One with Mr. Delaney.
The board might want to consider under the new board member orientation program, the program is for newly elected or appointed board members.
Okay. Just,
Yeah, I
where
appreciate
is
that.
that?
Color.
It is here.
Newly elected or appointed.
Good.
That is good.
That's a good addition.
I would have hated to have been left out of that.
And at the bottom, superintendent, they selected all the options, and then we just need to add one,
Yes.
and you're gonna get.
It's gonna actually be add to.
Add two, okay.
Yeah.
And that your staff's gonna.
We will get that on there. Right?
Okay.
143,
143.
countywide.
So you're taking the second option, right?
That's the current modeling.
Yeah,
Yes.
not the first.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
143,
Where's the fill in the blank for 140?
5. And second.
Take the second option.
Mhm.
Lisa, do you have that?
I'll
And
take
you can
it.
Take care of that one.
Yeah.
It's okay. You go ahead. We'll come back to it.
Next one is residence areas. Just basically reiterates what the statutes require.
That's good.
That's how it is now. Right?
Yeah. Okay. No one on that one, so we'll move on. Term.
So, First option?
First one there.
Yeah. 144, first option.
Mhm.
vacancy.
The only thing down that says that the vacancy shall be filled by appointment of the governor, that is accurate. However, is it within a certain amount of time, could be a special election to that. It wouldn't be just an appointment.
Well, you can add, or a special election.
Yeah.
There's statute there for
Yeah,
sure
it
that
does.
says that if
Yeah, it
it's
just
within a
depends on the
certain
timing
amount
of
of
it.
time, right, that, yeah, so,
And
or,
that also, there's
so it wouldn't
language-
necessarily be special, did you say special election? Because it would be based on the next general election. I don't think they call special election.
If it was beforehand, you'd have to have an election. If it's like before a certain time period, but Mr. Laney can verify that and to
I
check.
think it has to fall within an actual
Before
election.
24 months.
There's a statute that specifically lays out how long the appointee would serve if, depending how deep into the term they are appointed. Do they, just fill out the chart? Basically, would the appointee have to stand for reelection or not at the next available election? There's another statute that I think is interpreted with that statute. It doesn't specifically spell it out as crystal clear as I think we would all prefer. That's my take on it.
Would it be correct to say by appointment by the governor or by election?
Yes.
Mhm.
To be clear.
Just leave it open like
Yep.
that, yeah.
That way we don't have to get in the weeds with that.
Right,
It's not
yeah.
necessary
That's
for us to do
better.
that.
Right, because it's already spelled out.
Stop, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
I did get that now.
I got it.
So, removal,
Yeah. Maybe just put our name in there.
Good.
all right,
And compensation,
146.
146 good, 147 is where we are now.
Compensation.
At least we get 146.
so this is all just based on state statute here.
Flagler County.
We just gotta put our name in
Flagler.
there.
You ready to move on to the next one?
Mhm.
Travel and expenses?
I have a question on this one. I'm assuming that if it's not covered for in-county travel, like your mileage, as a public servant, are we allowed to deduct that on our taxes then?
The accountant question.
I do not know the answer to that question. That is, I think, I don't know for certain, and I hate to give you the wrong advice. I could see how that would be a business expense, and it probably would be, depending on other circumstances. Does somebody claim to know the answer to that? No. No?
Yeah, I would just talk to your personal tax advisor.
Yeah, that's me. And,
Oh, you are?
TurboTax.
Do it yourself.
So I guess, because I don't want to put an additional financial burden on the district, I would opt to say that in-county travel, because also that it could also be unlimited, right? We would have to put a lot of paperwork in order to say, is this an approved travel? We are also blessed that we have a relatively small district, right? We're not, we can go to the end of each side of the district within 20 minutes, so.
I think that we should just go with not reimbursed if it's in
Right.
the county.
Mhm.
Is a consensus not be reimbursed then for the
Yeah.
in-county?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, and then out of county, it has for, if it's over $500, requires approval by the board.
Mhm.
By the way, everybody, side note, so we don't forget, we do need to get registered for Tallahassee FSBA. That's open.
Oh, it's open?
Yeah,
I
it's
thought
open.
they registered.
Oh, yeah, I
thought
think
she
we are.
registered for us already.
Registered for Tallahassee?
Yeah, so-
I don't think I got an email. For Tallahassee, are we registered yet? Like all of us, or?
Tallahassee.
Let us get back with you.
Let
on
Mark,
this.
yeah,
We will
sorry.
get back with you on it.
Okay, so now we have travel costs paid or reimbursed from federal funds.
Yeah, there's an option here least expensive airplane fare,
That would be,
and
Like-
temporary dependent costs.
What kind of, so would this be, are you saying that there's some sort of professional development or things or whatever that, I'm trying to put this in context of what would be covered for us to attend under federal funds? Aren't those normally program instructional and, is there, can you
I'm sorry.
provide an example of a situation where?
That federal funds would be
Yeah.
utilized, I'm gonna look at Patty.
If it was
Let's
in the
think about in
grant.
the past of travel that we have done through federal funds. For the board,
Yeah.
yeah, I have not.
If it was in a
Yeah.
grant, a specific grant.
Yeah, if it was pay, if it
training
was
or-
within a grant, that we would be paying for that through a grant,
I
but,
don't recall any time we
Yeah.
ever used federal funds for travel.
Okay.
You don't have to have, these are options, you don't have to have.
I mean, you know, we never know when it could potentially be.
Yeah.
My choice would be, let's say, the first one. I don't think dependent care costs, I'm trying to hold us to
Yeah.
what is also available for the general employees in the school district. I would not think that that's included, so,
the least expensive,
Yeah.
correct.
period.
Right.
So delete both of these options.
Both options?
No.
Oh, I thought you
Or
were.
the
No,
first
keep-
option.
No,
Leave
keep the first
option.
option,
In the
delete
event
the
it
second.
occurs, even though it.
Okay, so say it again, what are we selecting?
Okay,
Commercial airfare,
Okay,
and then not selecting temporary dependent care.
okay.
So that brings us to the next one we did not yet discuss. Do we include participate in virtual trainings and conferences? I'm trying to think, so let's say, I'm assuming that means there's a charge to attend. I could see situations around that, so I would
Yes.
select that.
yes.
And I would say that, it sounds like to comply with the other stipulations, if it's over 500, but in the conferences, we don't want us just willy-nilly signing up for conferences we send you a
No,
bill
it-
for.
Yeah, in the past, and what would happen if there was a conference that you as a board member were seeking to attend, that would be noticed, it would be on the agenda, it will be brought before you for you to approve the travel, including the registration for a board member to attend a specific conference.
So that would be option one under the, board members must seek prior approval from the board at a publicly noticed board meeting, as opposed to option two, where we're allowed up to $500.
Yeah. I like option one only because it, you know, then the public sees, like, if you were trying to bring something back to the district, even if it was less than 500, it's good for them
That
to know
can add up,
what
right?
we're doing.
It coincide with the other one too, with the
Yeah.
500.
option one,
Is that okay with you guys?
Yeah,
Thoughts?
yes.
The association is covered in a different area, and if we need to clarify, that does not include your attendance at your state association conferences.
That's
Those,
what
it
I
is
was
expected.
Okay.
Because there's a lot, or at least for,
Yeah, it's a couple a
I
year.
mean, good
These are
training.
additional beyond your
Okay.
association, your school board association,
thank you.
conferences.
Is there a budget line item typically to that?
Yes, under superintendent's budget, includes
Okay.
board travel.
okay, next one is use of equipment and services.
So we don't currently have a stipend or, you guys provide the computer, but that's saying that's already included. It sounds like they're identifying, should a phone be included or a stipend provided by a
Right.
phone?
We do not provide that to the board or to staff.
So it looks like they're saying we have to choose an option, but that would mean we would have to delete both options.
You would have to take off, you can have routine supplies in the
Well,
computer.
this may be the communication
Well, we can just leave
device,
off the
email.
last two, the electronic communication device, and then the stipend, just don't
Take those
check either
out.
one, yeah, just because the top part, I mean, I'd like a chair.
I mean, because if we come here, we have a place we can sit down at, is what they're saying.
It's the bare minimum.
So it would read A, B, C.
Yep.
Right. So we don't create any additional cost.
Access to records.
Yeah.
The only thing I was thinking here under I guess it would be, where it says, under no circumstances shall board members use email to discuss among themselves, but I think that should also include or other forms of electronic communication as well.
I think, are you in
Text.
149?
Oh, I think you're in
I'm sorry.
149.
I thought, my book, I don't think.
I know, I'm like,
You're in the advanced class, you're
Sorry,
in another section.
Sorry, we'll come back to that. Didn't mean to jump ahead of you,
You're
sorry.
good.
I think mine got backwards.
There's no problem with 149, I don't
No.
think.
No.
You're good?
Next one is a version 1 and version 2 again, public expression of members.
I'm coming back.
That's where you come in now, the bars.
Yes, okay, so as previously stated, where it says, under no circumstances shall board members use email or other forms of electronic communication. I would think we would want to add that.
As in version 1.
I didn't know, is there a difference?
There's another version.
Yes,
underneath
version
it.
behind
Let's
it.
see, does that address that in
There's a
version 2?
V1 and a V2.
No,
Oh,
it does not.
It's a good question, though, like in the definitions, it had, what?
text messaging.
Web stuff,
Yeah.
right? So why don't we just use that word instead of things that could become outdated?
yeah. So, please, pardon me for that, I did not realize.
You've just been cut from the advanced class.
Yeah, so
How quickly?
I went back to
Okay.
where I needed to be.
But it's not in version 2, so I can see like that portion, so.
Yeah, so I think let's first decide on which version we prefer. 149 V1 or V2. My preference is V2. Simply because there is some additional exceptions. It clarifies some exceptions. So people can't get persnickety.
I like the sentence, there should be no expectation of privacy for any messages. That's in V1.
That's. And there's other case law that's going to kind of hold you to some of that too. I get your point. Can we move some of, can you move that I like that piece there. I mean, or,
Sure.
So we are going back to 1, to take some things out.
It was my understanding that they were looking at taking the last paragraph of V1 and adding that paragraph to
in the
V2.
V2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that something that can be done without, okay, so you see that often?
Mr. Delaney, what's your opinion of the two versions? Or what's your understanding, interpretation? Do you feel that V2 provides some additional flexibility where, kind of just that, some of those exceptions should be spelled out? Or do you feel like, well, because we're spelling out exceptions, if there are items that aren't in that list, then it can cause more problems later?
This is again, one of those aspirational, let's all try to be on our best behavior policies. And if you have a board member that doesn't want to follow this closely, it's probably not going to rise to the level of something that would require their removal from office. But it can make harmony on the board difficult to achieve. So if we get into that kind of scenario, the second version, as you said, does lay out a bunch of specifics. it's still ultimately not gonna change the outcome, because a board member giving media quotes that the rest of the board members really don't like and feel like are unauthorized, they're still not gonna be able to stop that board member from doing it. This is an appeal to the better nature of all the board members.
It's almost kind of like the parentheses thing earlier we talked about. There's just so many things that you could put in here.
Right.
I think now, looking at it again, I think the more, you're clear in these, in version 1, you're clear saying you need to do this, but you just don't have all the different items. And I think you may limit yourself, you may miss something or something to that effect. It just makes it,
Right,
makes it
because
a
I mean,
little unclean.
when somebody's being
Trying to be
challenged, they'll
clean.
say, well, it didn't list that specifically. They'll try and again, it's not even a matter of, it's just a matter of opinion that you're debating, right? You're not even, there's no enforcement or, so maybe just more summarized in the version 1.
Where it's time to time may make public statements or little state officials. It's just,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, I can get behind that. It provides the clause, and then we're not defining it, and so if there are issues, that are outside what we feel is really the scope of that, then we can address
You
it.
still bring it back to this policy.
Yeah,
So you like version 1 better?
Yeah, I think
sure.
so.
Keeping version 1, striking version 2.
But I think here's where we do have to go in and start talking about other forms of communication, though, or
Oh, on one?
electronic.
Right.
Okay.
We're keeping 1, right? and
Yes.
deleting 2.
And where do you want that additional information?
Where it says email,
You
right?
don't, if you're keeping 1, you don't need to add it.
No, we're
Oh.
talking about the,
Okay.
I'm sorry, I think what she's talking about.
I think the board's asking for.
I think it's the last paragraph, first sentence, there should be no expectation of privacy for any messages sent by email, but really it's email,
It's any-
text message, right, it should match whatever that term was in the definitions of web-based communication.
Or electronic communication?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Electronic.
The paragraph right above that references email
Same
too,
thing.
so you can put it there.
Twice.
perfect. Good call.
Right, so, board 149.2. Remember
Lisa, will you
partic-
delete 2?
Janie, anybody have
149.2.
anything about committee meetings?
No.
Okay. Board staff communication, 149.3.
There are going to be 3 policies coming forward later in the personnel section that will reflect just like this. So we'll read pretty much the same. So what you decide today will decide what those policies say.
If a staff member chooses to communicate directly with a board member regarding district business, so I'm assuming this is not verbal communication, but it has to be sent to all members of the board. Typically, I think this board has taken a very black and white stance as opposed to sharing information that is about issues or questions, but not discussing issues. So it seems like this board would probably want the superintendent to disseminate that. So should it read that the board member should provide to the superintendent provide that message to the remaining school board members?
That is a good
That's
suggestion,
great
just at
point.
face value, because of, we just don't want to violate sunshine laws, so that, you think that would be more appropriate, Mrs. Delaney?
It's easier to avoid the mistake of, a reply all with a comment, which
Okay.
the sunshine violations
So-
could be that easy to commit.
Right, so we want that language then, should be to communicate to the superintendent. And then
The superintendent sent.
Disseminated by the
So
superintendent.
we're
Are we
not
on 149
including each
To board
other
members, yes.
on emails?
Well, meaning that, like, it's say that, you know how when we get an email and we forward it to Superintendent Moore, and then she can decide if it's something the whole board needs to know and forward it out as a one-way communication, rather than we just hit reply all, and then we make a comment of support or dissent of something in there.
It could turn into a vote.
And then it turns into,
eventually.
accidentally turns into a sunshine law violation,
I'm
so.
just thinking of like when concerns come in, but she doesn't get 5 different emails from all of us.
Oh, well, I think that will kind of work itself. I mean, usually it would be, we might all forward it to her because they put
Yeah.
us all on there, but I mean, there's no way to coordinate that, I don't think, but.
I don't think she would mind either, like, just from what I'm seeing, like.
Just send me the
I think-
5.
Send it out. Work it out.
Send me the 5 is fine.
Yeah.
So we're accepting 149.3 as is?
No, we're adding that, so it says, if a staff member chooses to communicate directly with the school board regarding district business, then that communication should be sent to the superintendent, who will then disseminate as appropriate to the school board members.
Yeah, that sounds something along those lines, sounds good.
Two,
Yeah.
C.
So, let
Second
me,
paragraph under A.
I think we need to make sure we're all on the same page with this, so,
Well,
because
yes,
I want
because
to,
what-
This happens
what
on the daily.
Yes.
This, I think, when I read this staff to board, so, one of our staff members, they have, pulled information, that is relevant for the entire board. That information would be essentially provided to the entire board and not to one member of the board.
Yes, so that's my understanding. So let's say Mrs. Smith messages me.
Yes.
I now need to send it to you, and you are going to copy the remaining board so long as you, on the rest of it. But not with my message that I would have sent that staff member.
No, I think if Ms. Smith messages you, there's a conversation, an appropriate conversation that can be had with you and Ms. Smith as one of your constituents.
Mhm.
If Ms. Smith reference, and Ms. Smith is someone that has information that is being shared with you, so if Ms. Smith was the CFO, Ms. Smith was the chief of operations that is providing one board member with information that is important for the decision-making, that information should be provided to the entire board.
I think where we get into this is where the response comes. We should not be responding our feelings or what we feel like about that particular topic that comes from Ms. Smith as a broad
Absolutely.
stroke. That should be, I respond back to the superintendent and Ms. Smith with
And
what
then-
I believe, because you don't need to know what I believe at that particular point, because it could potentially come up for a vote.
So are you saying that if a staff member brings it to you, that we cut out the point that the other school board members should be looped into that information and or concern?
It wouldn't be your place to loop in,
I
it
wouldn't
will be
loop- I
the
would loop her
supervisor.
in.
Well, that's what I'm trying
So
to
the
say.
discretion, we would leave the discretion at the superintendent.
But that's what we're trying to say is,
Yes.
if the email comes to me, I loop you in, I can include my response, but then you need to loop in the other school board members without my
If it is,
context.
if it is appropriate for.
Yeah,
that-
that's what I
that
said,
means,
if
yes.
deemed,
Yeah.
deemed appropriate.
And, okay, so then I said to send to the superintendent, and the superintendent may, it depends, because if it needs to go, may what?
May forward or may provide information
Disseminate.
to the remaining school board members when deemed
As
appropriate.
Because, individuals like parents, they're always, sometimes, at least what's been happening, they'll send it to all of us. So I think just, obviously I'll respond, but I'll respond not all, just so they know, and then I'll go that track. But I think just getting in that habit of that and then,
Yeah, and 90% of those emails are usually, can be handled by the superintendent and staff. They're usually not big issues, but they just need to get to the right person.
Yep.
And that's usually, it's taken care of, so.
I think it's been going well though, like how,
Yeah, I'll, there's always room for improvement, but I believe the communication has, over the last couple of years, has increased in a good way. I've heard a lot of good feedback in that. I'm not getting as many complaints about that, so that's a good thing.
for anytime it says days, can I just ask, just because I was hearing a lot with my training, are we gonna focus on, do we need to say business days, working days, or is it just in general days? Because I
think
know,
that's defined in the
is it,
definitions as
okay,
well.
okay, thank you.
Good question.
Okay,
151.
organizational meeting.
I like option one. Talk about that, that's a lot of other stuff well in it, and other places. It's,
Most boards choose option one.
Yeah. Good.
That stuff, other stuff comes up later in the year, usually like the calendar and
yeah.
All right, so option one.
Option one for, sorry, which one?
151.
51.
So you know that organizational meeting where we had the
Yeah.
liaisons and everything? Option one is keeping it broad, and then option two is saying, these are the things you must do.
Oh, okay, that's.
So could you imagine already saying, oh, yep, we have to kind of adopt bylaws and policies, and you're like,
Okay.
that's.
Okay.
So.
And then,
The
so.
appointment section.
appointments.
I think the third option, I don't know if you want to change the term consensus, but the third option.
That's
is
way,
very
that's the
more
way
so
we,
what-
that's the way we did it. It
Yes.
seemed to work out. I mean,
Yeah.
some people didn't, wanted one thing, but it works out. That's the way it's supposed to be, I think.
third
Yeah.
option.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Value adjustment board, you have to do that.
Yep.
Did we do that?
Mhm.
Who's on the value adjustment? Is that you?
No, you are.
You are.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I love how you all know that.
But
Okay,
there's
I
one
got some
more,
homework to
just so
do.
you know, there's one more meeting for me to go to, and then after that, you will be.
Oh, that's, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Got you, you're right.
Oh, so this is what I was referring to earlier.
I just had a panic
Um,
attack, that's all.
You thought you were so far ahead in the
Yeah.
policies and behind on the meeting now.
Well,
You're-
that's
you're
why I
right where you need
spent
to
90
be.
hours doing
You're
what I
right where
should
you
have
need to
done.
Okay.
Okay, so officers,
Someday I'll get my life together.
I didn't have issues. That seemed like that was the way it seemed to work.
I just, we didn't really have we called them liaisons though, or,
This was the officer organizational meeting that we had when she
Like chairs.
opened and
Is it
the chair and all that.
oh,
So
yeah,
she
yeah,
ran
yeah,
the
I'm sorry,
meeting.
you're
and
right.
the officer shall
Okay,
serve
thank
one- And
you.
it just says it's, it gives the term limit on there,
Yes.
and by the
No, that's
majority
fine.
vote. Okay. All right, so committees,
There's two
Yeah.
versions here.
Man, I like
I
one.
think it's may, right? Like, cause
I like-
shall means you have to, right?
Mhm.
In legal speak, so.
I like 155V1, option 1 at the top,
I agree.
I
like one
agree.
line sentence.
I'm in agreement with that, too.
V1,
Yep.
second option.
No,
option
first
one.
option.
Yeah, option one, but the,
Option one, first option.
got,
Yes.
Okay, so that moves us to legal counsel.
That's simple.
Yep.
Want to knock out a couple more? I don't know.
So parliamentary authority, yeah, school board attorney, will serve as parliamentarian.
That's good.
Okay.
So that means we're also selecting this section to include Robert's Rules of Order?
There is another box there. Do you need a direction on that? Parliamentary authority governing the board shall be the most recent edition of Robert's Rules, revised. So, yeah, that's what we're using, so check that box too.
Yeah.
Quorum,
3.
three
Three of
members of
five.
5. Okay. Presiding officer,
Mm-hmm.
Standard.
yep.
I recommend
Yes,
including the phrase physically present.
Oh, yeah.
okay, yeah.
And quorum,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
3 members physically present in meeting shall close.
Okay.
See what that is in that?
I'm gonna get it.
Good addition.
Quorum.
Put the word physically right before present. That sentence.
Okay. So we are at the 11:35.
Is it okay if we finish just the presiding
Yeah.
officer?
Absolutely.
And then we can leave the rest?
All right.
Yeah, that's an easy one, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you recommend physically present for
Yeah.
that one as well? So if the chair and the vice chair are not here, then any member shall be designated by plurality of those physically present to preside?
No, because I think that's something that's up to a vote of the board.
Okay.
We wouldn't get to that one if we didn't have a quorum, so.
Perfect.
So on that one as well, like Mr. Fury did, he attended virtually, but then Ms. Chong, being the vice chair, essentially acted as the chair. So are we saying in the physical absence? Or was that just the practice you chose to take, but you could have served as the chair attending virtually?
That would be hard to do.
To be chair and virtual.
Yeah.
Is that even allowed?
I think it would be allowed, because
'Cause you have a
attending
quorum.
virtually,
Yeah.
you've got all the powers except for contributing to quorum.
Mhm.
You certainly would, any chair would be able to pass the gavel to the vice chair for the purpose of running the meeting, just like if they had laryngitis and they needed to do it, even though they were physically present.
Mhm. So, do you recommend we leave that as is, or does physical presence add anything here to enhance
This is
this?
in
Only-
the absence.
Only if you're worried that a future chair might want to run a meeting virtually, and you don't like that, and you want to constrain that possibility.
I don't like it. I don't like him thinking that they would do it virtually. I think
I
they should
agree,
be
I
in
feel
present.
like-
It'd be
Yeah.
hard to manage
Yeah, like
something.
I mean,
Just saying,
yeah,
I
the
think that
chair
would be too
meeting,
hard.
but okay, so, yes, I agree, but let's just say, I mean, because what we're doing here is we're kind of telling future boards how they're gonna run. Because, I mean, let's just say, for some reason, no one is comfortable chairing the meeting, and the only one that can do it is the guy
But
virtually, you know?
When someone's virtually, there's a reason. So like for you, you weren't feeling well. So
Right.
for you to run a meeting and you're not feeling well, or if there's maybe something with the
Or-
children. And,
But it could be, but there's really no justification of a reason. It could be anything. It really could just be if they didn't want to show up that day. I mean, technically. all I'm saying is that I think that would be a decision that a board could make. I think it would be totally impractical to do that, so I don't really think it's something that's likely to happen. But if there was a circumstance, I mean, what if the rest of the board said, I don't feel comfortable running the meeting, and you're the only one that knows how to do it? And
So you're saying, though, that in that scenario, both the chair and the vice chair would have to be out, and then the three of us would say, well, it says in the bylaws we're supposed to vote, but even though we're gonna vote, we don't wanna do it?
Possibly. On my point is, again, this is one of those things that, are we gonna make this choice up for a future board? We don't,
Yeah.
it seems here, we don't really think that's a good idea.
Well, what if we add that clause? Okay, so if the board is not physically present, it goes to the vice chair. If the vice chair is not physically present, the board may vote. If the board does not feel that they can chair the meeting, then the option can be sent back to the chair or the vice chair attending virtually.
Well, I almost think it's not even, I think the likelihood of this scenario actually happening is almost non-existent.
Yeah.
But my point is that, again, are we adding something to a policy that really is not solving a real problem, right?
Well, at the end of the day, like you said, we get to make the decision based off of this. If a new board comes in, they want to bring it back up, then that new board can do that. I'm setting the stage of what we want at this point in
Right.
time.
And it
So-
did happen that you
Yeah.
weren't there.
So, I mean, I get your point, but I mean, at the end of the day, if they want to bring a new policy up,
I'm fine
that's.
either way, because
Yeah.
I just don't think that's, at least with this board, I don't think anybody here is gonna wanna do that. But if you want, I'm fine with it. If you think it would enhance the policy, let's put it in there.
But you can manage better in person and, you know.
Oh,
I just-
100%.
yeah.
I mean, there's no, I mean, I
Right.
can't even imagine doing this remotely.
Right,
That's
just
rough.
imagine controlling public comment
Yeah.
if
That's rough on
you're,
that
I
person.
think we should, and then, you know, if the future board wants to change it, but,
Okay.
I mean,
I
that's
would-
just.
I
So
just,
can we get just clarity and direction of where we want the language to be added? Is it in the first part of the sentence, saying that the chair,
I think it may say the
They're
chair shall be
physically
physically present at all.
Right, well, yeah, it should be like at the end, anybody, the chair or nominated
Or,
chair
doesn't say present,
must
it says
be
preside.
physically present
I can't.
at,
to preside
that
over
time,
the
to
right?
preside over the meeting, something
Brain
in
hit
general,
that.
because again, we don't know who it's gonna
We're gonna
be.
say the
Physically
presiding
present.
officer must be physically
Okay,
present.
must
Right,
be.
physical, yeah, that's a better way to put it.
Yep.
I think at the end.
Yes, at the end,
Yeah.
yep.
Slim chance, but.
It covers it.
For sure.
Okay, so are we gonna, do you wanna end that there?
Yes,
Okay,
please.
very good, okay.
We've got a few more, we'll come back with those at a future workshop.
Okay,
Thank you,
great.
sir, for your-
Thank you all for
7
being
years
here,
together.
helping us through
Enjoy it.
this.
Thank you.
Time to get through your turn. Thank you for your patience with us.
Where did you, drive from? Are you?
Gainesville.
Gainesville? Okay.
All right, well, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank y'all very much.